Hello everyone, welcome to the Mind Podcast, where we explore the teachings and philosophies of Buddhism. Today, we will delve into an essential topic, the doctrine of the middle way in Buddhism. Join us as we uncover the wisdom behind this central tenet and its profound impact on leading a balanced and enlightened life. The doctrine of the middle way in Buddhism. The middle way is the path that avoids the two extremes of indulgence in sensual pleasures and self-mortification. This concept emerged from the Buddha's personal experiences after living a life of luxury in the palace and undergoing 6 years of severe ascetic practices. By following this middle way, the Buddha attained enlightenment and liberation under the Bodhi tree. Since then, the middle way has not only been a fundamental principle of Buddhist living, embodying an open-minded and non-dogmatic spirit, but it has also evolved into a profound philosophical system within Mahayana Buddhism, particularly in the Madhyamaka school. Initially, the middle way was defined as avoiding the two extremes of sensual indulgence and self-mortification. Over time, it developed to mean avoiding the extremes of eternalism and nihilism, existence and non-existence, and clinging to dualistic views in general. This non-clinging attitude leads to the definition of the middle way as the Noble Eightfold Path, dependent origination, and ultimate emptiness. Naturally, each historical period has nuanced interpretations of the middle way, with differing explanations and analyses, particularly during the Mahayana period, where it received intricate philosophical scrutiny. In this article, the author endeavors to elucidate the various meanings of the middle way through the scriptures and teachings of different Buddhist sects. 1. The middle way as avoiding the two extremes of sensual pleasure and self-mortification. As Buddhists, it is common knowledge that the Buddha, Siddhartha Gautama, was a prince of the Sakya clan in the kingdom of Kapilavastu. Before renouncing his royal life, he lived a life of luxury and indulgence. The palace provided all seasonal comforts, with beautiful consorts, music, and endless feasts. Despite this, he realized that such pleasures still harbored seeds of suffering, not just for himself, but for the entire royal household and the nation. Convinced that such indulgence was not true happiness, he left the palace at the age of 29 or 19, according to some traditions, to seek enlightenment and liberation. According to the Noble Search Sutta in the Majjhima Nikaya, after renouncing his royal life, the Buddha practiced extreme asceticism under two renowned teachers of the time, Alara Kalama and Udaka Ramapuda. For 6 years, he diligently practiced severe austerities, including extreme fasting, until he was emaciated. Despite achieving the highest meditative attainments taught by these teachers, he found that such self-mortification did not lead to enlightenment or the end of suffering. Therefore, he abandoned asceticism. On his way to the Nairanjana River, he received a bowl of milk rice offered by a shepherd girl, which revitalized him. This event led him to declare the middle way, avoiding both sensual indulgence and self-mortification, as the path to enlightenment, as he explained in many sutras, including the Discourse on Non-Conflict in the Majjhima Nikaya. Avoid indulgence in sensual pleasures, which is low, vulgar, coarse, ignoble, and unbeneficial, and also avoid self-mortification, which is painful, ignoble, and unbeneficial. The middle way, realized by the Tathagata, gives vision, gives knowledge, and leads to peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana. In this passage, the Buddha advises the monks and all people to avoid the two extremes of indulgence and self-mortification. According to him, neither lifestyle benefits oneself or others. What is a life of indulgence in sensual pleasures? To understand this clearly, let us examine the materialist philosophy of Ajita Kesakamvala, one of the 6 non-Buddhist teachers. His views are recorded in the Samyutta Nikaya, Sutra number 154. By what, relying on what, clinging to what, engrossed in what, seeing self in what, do beings say, there is no almsgiving, no sacrifice, no offering, no karmic result of good and bad actions, no this world, no other world, no mother, no father, no beings, no Brahmins who have reached perfection, who practice rightly, who proclaim this world and the other world. Ajita Kesakamvala, a proponent of materialism, also known as Lokayata, argued that the 4 great elements, earth, water, fire, and air, exist independently and that humans in the world are formed by these elements. He denied the existence of the soul or self, stating that death is the end, with the elements returning to their respective elements. Therefore, he believed the purpose of life was to seek pleasures and indulge in them as much as possible, without regard for moral values or consequences. This view negated almsgiving, karmic results, and afterlife, and familial and social obligations. According to the Buddha, such a perspective does not lead to true happiness and poses dangers to both the individual and society. It contributes to suffering and does not bring enlightenment or liberation. Thus, the Buddha advised abandoning this lifestyle. However, he did not deny the value of material enjoyment when pursued reasonably, as illustrated in the Samyutta Nikaya, Sutra number 9-12. There are three kinds of people who seek sensual pleasures, who are worldly, common folk, and lowly. Firstly, there are those who seek sensual pleasures by acquiring wealth through illegal means, not bringing happiness to themselves, nor supporting their parents, siblings, spouse, children, servants, relatives, or friends, nor do they make timely offerings to monks and Brahmins for future happiness. This is the first type of person who seeks sensual pleasures in the world. Secondly, there are those who seek sensual pleasures through illegal means to satisfy themselves and their families, but do not make offerings to monks and Brahmins for future happiness. This is the second type of person who seeks sensual pleasures. Thirdly, there are those who seek wealth through legal means, satisfying their own needs, supporting their parents, siblings, spouse, children, servants, relatives, and friends, and making timely offerings to monks and Brahmins for future happiness. This is the third type of person who seeks sensual pleasures. In these passages, the Buddha discusses three types of people who seek sensual pleasures. The first type acquires wealth through illegal means and spends it on themselves without helping their family or making offerings for future happiness. The second type also acquires wealth illegally but supports their family, though they still do not make offerings. The third type earns wealth legally, supports their family, and makes offerings for future happiness. The Buddha criticizes the first type and praises the third, showing that he does not advocate extreme indulgence, but does support reasonable enjoyment of material wealth. However, even with legal earnings, overindulgence is not consistent with Buddhist principles. Excessive consumption can harm physical health, leading to obesity and other diseases common in developed countries with abundant material wealth. This is why the Buddha rejected the first extreme of indulgence. Similarly, the Buddha also rejected the extreme of self-mortification, a practice advocated by the Jains. The small discourse on the massive suffering in the Majjhima Nikaya describes their practices. At one time, while residing in Rajagaha on Vulture Peak Mountain, many Niganthas, Jains, on the slopes of Isagili Mountain, on Black Rock, stood upright, refusing to sit down and enduring severe, painful, sharp feelings. These Jains practiced severe asceticism, standing all day and night without sitting or lying down, lying on thorns, beside rotting corpses, and fasting to the extreme, believing that such suffering would lead to enlightenment and liberation. They thought, Nigantha Nadaputa, being omniscient, says, if you commit evil deeds in the past, you can make them dissipate through severe asceticism. Prevent evil deeds in the future by restraining the body, speech, and mind in the present. By burning away past karma and preventing new karma, future continuity will be cut off. When continuity is cut off, karma is eradicated. When karma is eradicated, suffering is eradicated. When suffering is eradicated, feelings are eradicated. And with the eradication of feelings, all suffering will be consumed. According to the Jains, severe asceticism purifies past bad karma and prevents future karma, leading to liberation. However, the Buddha's view differed, emphasizing the importance of mental discipline and wisdom over physical suffering. He taught that the root of suffering is ignorance, which can only be eradicated by wisdom, not by physical torture. If self-mortification led to enlightenment, prisoners would be the first to attain it. Therefore, the Buddha's path is not one of extreme asceticism, but a balanced life with moderate material needs and cultivation of wisdom, living a life of simplicity and contentment, avoiding extremes and nurturing the Buddha nature within. True enlightenment comes from cultivating a mind free from ignorance and clinging, not from torturing the body. What is a life of simplicity and contentment? It is living with a sense of shame and understanding one's position and capabilities, having just enough for essential needs without excess or deficiency, not being driven by endless desires. The level of sufficiency varies with each individual in their social context, with no fixed standard. In summary, excessive indulgence in sensual desires is one extreme. Conversely, a life of asceticism and self-mortification is another extreme. Neither of these lifestyles benefits oneself or others, as they both contribute to afflictions and suffering. Therefore, the Buddha advised us to avoid these two extremes and instead follow the middle way, a balanced life that avoids leaning too much towards either indulgence or asceticism. This is the meaning of the middle way that the Buddha discovered and proclaimed after experiencing both a life of sensual pleasure and the practice of severe asceticism. This is also why he defined the middle way as the Noble Eightfold Path, as explained in the Kula Sunyata Sutta in the middle-length discourses as follows. Avoiding these two extremes, there is the middle way discovered by the Tathagata, which gives rise to vision, which gives rise to knowledge, which leads to peace, direct knowledge, enlightenment, and nibbana. What is the middle way that the Tathagata has discovered? It is the Noble Eightfold Path, that is, right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. Even in the Turning the Wheel of the Dharma, in the Great Perfect Enlightenment Sutra, the middle way is explained as the Noble Eightfold Path as follows. The Buddha taught the monks, "You should know that there are two types of obstacles for renunciants." What are the two? One is attachment to sensual pleasures, which is difficult to abandon and is characteristic of the worldly, ignorant, and lowly. It is not suitable for the noble ones, for it does not lead to liberation, to the eradication of sensual desires, to supernatural powers, to becoming a Buddha, or to Nibbana. The second is self-mortification, which brings suffering and is not suitable for the noble ones, for it also does not lead to liberation, to the eradication of sensual desires, to supernatural powers, to becoming a Buddha, or to Nibbana. Therefore, monks, you should abandon these two. I now teach you the middle way, monks, and you should listen. What is the middle way? It is right view, right intention, right speech, right action, right livelihood, right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. We might ask, why do people fall into the two extremes of indulgence in sensual pleasures and self-mortification? Upon serious investigation, we find that these arise from ignorance, as ignorance prevents us from recognizing right from wrong, good from bad, and proper from improper. As a result, people mistake wrong for right and practice what should not be practiced, leading to suffering and affliction. To end this ignorance, we need to illuminate wisdom, expressed through the Noble Eightfold Path. 1. Right view, right thought. 3. Right speech. 4. Right action. 5. Right livelihood. 6. Right effort. 7. Right mindfulness. And 8. Right concentration. This means that when a person lives with right view, they have right thoughts. With right thoughts come right speech and right actions, leading to a right livelihood. Due to right view and right thought, their efforts are also right, their mindfulness is right, and as mindfulness is right, they live and work with right concentration. One who lives with right concentration possesses wisdom, knowing what is right and wrong, beneficial and harmful, for oneself and others. Knowing this, they do not fall into these two extremes. This is why the Buddha defined the middle way as the Noble Eightfold Path. In a more profound sense, the concept of the middle way also involves materiality, avoiding the extremes of indulgence and self-mortification. However, this is not the sole meaning of the middle way theory. Over time, it has evolved into avoiding the extremes of existence and non-existence, eternity and annihilation, leading to the ultimate non-dual state. This is an important point to consider. In the next section, we will explore the concept as previously mentioned. To avoiding the extremes of existence and non-existence, the middle way. The metaphysical questions that the Buddha did not answer, such as, is the world eternal or not eternal, finite or infinite? Is the soul the same as the body or different from the body? Does the Tathagata exist after death or not? Were of great interest to contemporary Indian philosophers and were continually debated. Anyone who became famous and attracted social attention had to choose one of these extreme views. Similarly, the Buddha, being a renowned figure, was questioned on these issues, especially given his teaching of dependent origination, paticca, which posits the impermanence of all phenomena. When asked whether the world is eternal or not, it implied that if the Buddha affirmed the world's eternity, he accepted its existence. If he denied it, he implied non-existence. If everything is annihilated, then why practice at all? This was the challenge posed to the Buddha by contemporary religious philosophers. However, the Buddha's conclusion, based on the principle of dependent origination, was that both humans and the world are impermanent. The concept of impermanence does not deny the existence of humans in the world, but introduces a new understanding of existence that was unfamiliar to traditional Indian thinkers. This is why Buddhist scriptures often discuss the concepts of existence and non-existence. As stated in the Connected Discourses, Kakayana, this world is for the most part shackled by engagement, clinging, and adherence. But this one with right wisdom does not engage in or cling to that engagement and clinging to the notion that everything exists, nor to the notion that everything does not exist. This indicates that India, being a nation inclined towards metaphysical thinking, sought to understand the nature of existence, whether the world is eternal or annihilated. The belief that the world exists eternally is one extreme, while the belief that the world does not exist, annihilated, is another. These two viewpoints often clashed and contradicted each other. The Buddha did not accept either of these extremes, considering them both to be extremes. Why? Because the world is neither truly existent nor non-existent, but rather exists in a state of impermanence, constantly changing. The myriad things in the world arise due to causes and conditions, hence their inherent nature is impermanent. If each component of the world is impermanent and subject to change, then the world cannot be static or unchanging. Therefore, the world cannot be definitively labeled as existent or non-existent because it exists as a manifestation of the impermanent nature of things. To clarify this, the great Parinirvana Sutra explains, all phenomena are neither existent nor non-existent because they lack a permanent nature. For example, consciousness arises dependent on the eye, forms, light, the mind, and attention. This consciousness does not exist independently in the eye, forms, light, the mind, or attention, nor is it found in between. Therefore, phenomena are neither existent nor non-existent. Because they arise from conditions, they are said to exist. Because they lack a permanent nature, they are said to be non-existent. Thus, the nature of all things is explained in terms of conditional arising, which avoids the extremes of existence and non-existence. This understanding is foundational to the middle way. 3. The ultimate meaning of emptiness is the middle way. In addition to the two meanings of the middle way discussed earlier, Mahayana Buddhist scriptures also emphasize the ultimate meaning of emptiness as the middle way. The great Parinirvana Sutra states, Buddha nature is the ultimate meaning of emptiness. The ultimate meaning of emptiness is wisdom. What is called emptiness is neither non-existence nor non-existence. The wise see it as both empty and non-empty, both impermanent and permanent, both suffering and blissful, both self and non-self. Emptiness encompasses all samsara. Non-emptiness is the great nirvana. To see all things as empty without seeing their non-empty aspect is not called the middle way. Even seeing all things as non-self without seeing their self aspect is not called practicing the middle way. The middle way is Buddha nature, and from this meaning, we understand that Buddha nature is eternal and unchanging. Beings do not see Buddha nature due to ignorance. The disciples and solitary realizers see all phenomena as empty, but do not see their non-empty aspect. See all phenomena as non-self, but do not see their self aspect. For this reason, they do not see the ultimate meaning of emptiness and do not practice the middle way, and thus do not see Buddha nature. The great Parinirvana Sutra belongs to the Mahayana tradition and teaches the principles of eternal joy, self, and purity. It defines the middle way as the ultimate meaning of emptiness. Ultimate meaning refers to wisdom, which is also Buddha nature. The wisdom defined in Mahayana Buddhism is paramita wisdom, distinct from the analytical wisdom, panna, derived from discrimination. Those with wisdom see the true nature of phenomena as arising from conditions, which are impermanent and empty but not non-existent. Hence, phenomena are neither purely empty nor purely existent. To see them as purely empty or existent is an extreme view, and the wise should see phenomena as both empty and existent simultaneously, which is a true vision. If one sees phenomena as only impermanent, empty, and non-self without seeing their permanent, non-empty and self aspects, then one lacks wisdom and does not see the ultimate meaning of emptiness or Buddha nature, and does not practice the middle way. Conversely, one who sees phenomena as both impermanent and permanent, non-self and self, empty and non-empty, has prajna wisdom and understands the middle way. This is the Mahayana definition of the middle way as the ultimate meaning of emptiness. 4. Dependent origination is the middle way. Before delving deeper into the meaning of dependent origination is the middle way, it is important to note that Mahayana Buddhism's philosophy of prajna appeared after the phase of early Buddhism. Therefore, Mahayana texts, particularly those of the prajna school, emphasize emptiness and critique the concept of existence. The concept of existence that Mahayana critiques primarily pertains to the threefold true existence and eternal nature of phenomena, advocated by the Sarvastivada school. The debate over existence and non-existence in these texts does not directly target the heretical views critiqued in early Buddhist texts like the Agamas or Nikayas, as these represent different historical contexts. Additionally, it is crucial to distinguish between the term dependent origination, padakasamuppada, which is a law discovered by the Buddha under the Bodhi tree, and the term conditioned co-arising, which is sometimes used interchangeably but with different meanings in different contexts. Dependent origination explains the process of sufferings arising and cessation, primarily focusing on psychological aspects, while the 6 causes and 4 conditions of the Sarvastivada school primarily analyze the formation of the material world. In the Great Parinirvana Sutra, the middle way is described as follows. Buddhas and bodhisattvas always reveal the middle way. Why? Because all phenomena are neither existent nor non-existent and lack a permanent nature. Why? Consciousness arises dependent on the eye, forms, light, the mind, and attention. Therefore, this consciousness does not arise solely from one cause like the eye or forms, and thus its nature is neither existent, non-existent, nor in between. Because phenomena arise from conditions, they are said to exist. Because they lack a permanent nature, they are said to be non-existent. Thus, the Tathagata says, all phenomena are neither existent nor non-existent. The content of this passage indicates that the Buddha frequently applied the middle way in daily life, avoiding any rigid stance, whether it was about existence or non-existence, right or wrong. Existence and non-existence are temporary phenomena, not inherent nature, as all phenomena are impermanent and constantly changing due to conditions. Therefore, it is futile to definitively label phenomena as either existent or non-existent. The correct understanding is that all phenomena arise from conditions, making them neither purely existent nor purely non-existent. This approach avoids the extremes of existence and non-existence, forming the basis of the middle way as dependent origination. 5. Beyond dualities, the middle way. The idea of transcending dualities as the middle way has been discussed earlier. However, the concept of dualities here refers to specific extremes, such as indulgence and asceticism, existence and non-existence, permanence and annihilation, which are all seen as false and incorrect. Hence, practitioners must avoid these extremes to attain liberation. This section explores a unique perspective where even good and evil are considered dualities to be transcended. For instance, in the treatise on the Great Perfection of Wisdom, Nagarjuna states, attachment to self is one extreme, attachment to non-self is another extreme. Avoiding both attachments is called the middle way. Furthermore, Nagarjuna explains, furthermore, ignorance is one extreme. The cessation of ignorance is another extreme. Bodhisattvas are one extreme, the 6 perfections are another. Buddha is one extreme, enlightenment is another. Prajna paramita is one extreme, non-prajna paramita is another. Avoiding both extremes is called the middle way, also known as prajna paramita. Similarly, in the Perfection of Wisdom Sutra, it is mentioned, Sariputra, the inconceivable and the 5 heinous sins are all grounded in the ultimate reality, without difference, without birth or death, without coming or going, without cause or effect, without good or evil. These passages illustrate that the concept of transcending dualities in Mahayana Buddhism goes beyond simply avoiding wrong views and practices. It includes transcending conventional dualities such as good and evil, ignorance and enlightenment, and even conventional and ultimate realities. The Buddha's teachings are aimed at liberating beings from all forms of attachment, even those towards seemingly positive or virtuous qualities. This transcendent approach ensures that practitioners do not fall into subtle forms of attachment that can obstruct ultimate liberation. For instance, in the story of the raft used by two monks to cross a river in the Alagama Sutta from the middle-length discourses, one monk, after crossing the river, clings to the raft, while the other monk leaves it behind, understanding its purpose has been fulfilled. The Buddha uses this story to illustrate that even the Dhamma must be let go of once it has served its purpose, let alone incorrect teachings. This non-attachment is essential for true liberation, as clinging to any view, even a correct one, can become a hindrance. In conclusion, whether in early or Mahayana Buddhism, the middle way is a crucial doctrine that emphasizes avoiding extremes and understanding the conditional nature of phenomena. It is not just a practical guideline, but a profound philosophical insight into the nature of reality. By understanding and practicing the middle way, one can avoid the pitfalls of extreme views and achieve true liberation. 6. Conclusion. The middle way is a fundamental concept in Buddhism. We learn about this doctrine through Mahayana Buddhism, particularly expounded by Nagarjuna in the Mula-Madhyama Kakarika. However, the middle way was not an invention of Nagarjuna, but was discovered by the Buddha through his own practice. As Buddhism evolved, so did the understanding of the middle way, adapting to different historical contexts and philosophical developments. In early Buddhism, the middle way emphasizes avoiding the extremes of sensual indulgence and self-mortification, as well as the extremes of eternalism and annihilationism. In Mahayana Buddhism, it also addresses the psychological aspect of clinging to any view, whether it is seen as right or wrong, good or bad. This understanding helps practitioners avoid all forms of attachment, leading to ultimate liberation. Additionally, concepts like dependent origination and the ultimate meaning of emptiness are also seen as expressions of the middle way, highlighting the conditional and impermanent nature of all phenomena. Recognizing this helps practitioners avoid the extremes of reification and nihilism, guiding them towards a balanced and liberating perspective. In essence, the middle way is a path of balance and wisdom, leading to the cessation of suffering and the realization of true peace.